Okay, so as we start this with circles, okay, let's talk about some stuff that we know. All right, what are some things that we know about circles? Okay, so when we, again, a lot of this is review, okay, but some stuff that we already know, okay. The circle has a point in the center. I'll make that a different color. Okay, if we go from the center to the outside, okay, actually let me use the dotted line thing. Okay, if I go from the center to the outside. Okay, what is this distance called? Anybody? Great Britain? Radius. Good. Okay, if I go all the way across the circle and I go through that middle point, okay, that's important that it goes through the middle. What is that called? No. Diameter. Good. Okay, so if you have a diameter, then you have a radius. If you have a radius, you have a diameter. What do I mean by that? Somebody tell me. Because what do you notice? Radius is halfway across the circle. Diameter is what? All the way across. So if I have a radius of 5, what would I have as a diameter? 10. If I have a diameter of 20, what would I have as a radius? 10. Okay, does that make sense? If you have one, you have the other. Okay, so what is the distance when we go all the way, if we start here, and let's say we go all the way around a circle. Wow, that was really bad. Okay, pretend I made a really good line all the way across, okay? What is the distance around the circle? Dylan? Circumference, okay? What? Okay, tell me later. Okay, the distance around the outside of a circle. No, I'd love to hear it, but just tell me later. Okay, distance around the outside of a circle. Okay, now as we move into these chapters that have all kinds of geometry stuff, okay, meaning we're finding area, we're finding circumference, we're finding volume, we're finding surface area, all of that stuff. Okay, a couple things you got to keep in mind. Number one, you're going to have a formula for everything. Okay, you have to plug in numbers to a formula. Number two is you have to label everything. You have to label everything appropriately, okay? If you have a unit of measure, you have to use that unit of measure, okay? Good. Especially when we get into area and volume, because if you don't use the right unit of measure, meaning square units, cubic units, that kind of thing, then it means something completely different. Make sense? Okay? Now, with circumference, these are what we call single units, because you're not finding something on the inside, you're finding the distance around something, okay? So does anybody know what the formula for circumference of a circle is? Does anybody remember? Okay, well, a lot of times you're going to see, anytime there's a circle, we're going to see this thing, okay? What does that mean? It means pi, okay? And for consistency's sake, okay, because pi is what we call an irrational number. It never ends, okay? Pi keeps going on and on forever. So, but your calculator, different calculators, and we're not going to use calculators, you're not going to need them, but when we do start using calculators, okay, tomorrow I'll allow you to use calculators. When we use calculators and you use the pi button, every calculator may have pi stopping at a different location, if that makes sense. So in order to have consistent answers, we're going to always just use 3.14 when we have pi, okay? Anytime we have pi, that's going to represent 3.14. Okay, so today, when we use pi, that's going to be 3.14. So there's two ways I can find circumference. Okay, the first way, if I have this pi and then a d, what do you think that d stands for? Dylan? Diameter. Okay, if I have diameter, I can use this formula. What if I have a radius? What do you think I'm going to do? 2r. Why? Because 2 times the radius equals what? Diameter, okay? I like to just use this formula all the time. If I have a radius, I just multiply it times 2. But you can use either one of these. Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, now, anytime you multiply by a decimal, what do you have to take? Here's a mistake I see a lot, okay? Let me give these some measurements, and we'll go from there. Does everybody have this written down?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say that on this particular circle, let's just say this one is 6 feet. Okay, and I'm asked to find the circumference. The first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to write this formula every time, I'm going to write C equals, now, am I given a radius here or am I given a diameter? What is this? It's a radius. So I'm going to write pi 2r. Okay? I'm trying to find C. What am I going to replace this pi symbol with? 3.14 times 2 times what's the radius? 6. Okay? Which means circumference equals 3.14 times what's 2 times 6? 12. Okay. Now, when I multiply these, okay, I have 3.14 times 12. Okay? Whenever I multiply a decimal, okay, what do I have? If I'm adding to decimals, the decimals are aligned, right? If I'm subtracting decimals, decimals are lined up. Okay, do I have to line up decimals when I'm multiplying? No. I'm just going to multiply this like a regular number, right? So what's 4 times 2? 8. 2 times 1? 3 times 2. Now, what goes in this space down here? A 0. Okay, 4 times 1? 1 times 1? 3 times 1. Okay, so when I add these together, 8, 6, 7, and 3. Okay? Now, what do I have to do? Because I multiply by a decimal, I have to go back and count what? How many places to the right of the decimal are in the actual multiplication? Which is what? 1, 2. So I move it 1, 2. Where's my decimal going to go in this answer? Okay. So when I write my final answer, this is going to look like what? Circumference equals 30. Oh, another thing we got to do. When we use pi, okay, is this the exact answer to what pi is? Pi is it keeps going, doesn't it? So anytime you use pi, okay, you're not going to put an equal sign. What do you think you're going to put there? You're going to take your equal sign and make it about. Okay? In other words, you make your equal sign wavy, and that means about. It means like you're approximating. Okay? So circumference is about 37.68, and what are we going to use as our unit? Feet. Now, it's a singular unit, so we're not going to put feet squared, we're not going to put feet cubed. Just 37.68 feet. My 6 looks kind of funky here, sorry. Huh? No, it doesn't. It's fine. It looks good. Yeah, thanks. Okay, question, Olivia.
Yes.
Anytime you use pi, yes. Okay? Even if you use a calculator, because your calculator only has so many digits that it can use, and because pi keeps going on and on forever, anytime you use pi as part of your answer, you're going to use the approximate sign. Jewel. Yeah, just remember, anytime you use pi to make it, yes.
So it's not 6 feet from.
Yeah, this right here was a radius of 6 feet. Okay? So let's go back and find one with a diameter. All right? So can I erase this? Does everybody have this?
No, but I.
Okay.
Is that a F9? And what does the F9 stand for?
F9. I don't see an F9.
It's after the 26.
That's feet.
Congratulations.
Feet. Because see, this is feet, this is feet. It's just our unit. Okay. Can I erase this?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say on this one, let's say that I'm given a different measure. Let's say this was 20 centimeters. Okay? Which formula would I use here? What am I given? Am I given a radius or am I given a diameter? I'm given a diameter, right? So I'm going to have circumference equals pi times d. Now, I want you to write the formula every time. Okay? It's not that much work. And I'm going to replace pi with what? 3.14, and I'm going to replace the D with a what? 20. Okay? So now let's do this over here. 3.14 times 20. Well, no matter what, this is always going to be, all these are going to be what? 0. So 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1? 2 times 1. It's a tough one. 2. 3 times 2? 6. Now, how many places am I going to move my decimal? 2. So circumference would be what? About 62.8. Now, if I put this 0 or don't put that 0, does it change the value? No. Okay, 62.8 what? Centimeters. Okay? Easy stuff, guys. Not that difficult. Question, Joel.
How do you know if you're in pi times b or
Okay. It depends on what you're given on your problem. If you are given a diameter, then you use pi times diameter. If you're given a radius, then you use the one with the radius. Okay? All right. Does that make sense?
how do you know when it's a raised radius or
It'll show you if you're given a picture of a circle, it'll show you that it's just halfway across, which is a radius. But if it's all the way across, it's a diameter.
and for the diameter we use the same thing?
If you have diameter, you use this one.
Oh, so it, okay. So
And if you have a radius, you use the other one, the radius formula.
the other,
Yeah, the pi equals, circumference equals pi 2r. Here's what I would do, okay? If I was given this is just my 2 cents, okay? If I'm given a radius, let's say this radius was 60 centimeters, okay? Here's what I would do. I would use my pi times diameter formula and just know that if this radius is 60, what's the diameter? 120. That's what I do. Okay, it's up to you. If you want to use the other formula, because essentially if you do that, what are you multiplying 60 times? Times 2. Okay, you're kind of like skipping a step. Okay, so I would just use this formula. So circumference equals pi times 120. Okay, but don't just plug in, if you're given a radius, don't plug that in for the diameter. Does that make sense? Make sure you multiply times 2.
so,
Make sense? Okay.
So is the diameter we just put it multiply by 2?
No, if it's a radius, you multiply by 2 to get a diameter. Okay? Jewel,
So every time you do a radius, you have to put
well, it's up to you. Like I said, if you're given a radius, then you can multiply it times 2 and then start with your diameter. Or you can do this. Look, I'm going to show you that I will get the same answer. Okay? Because I'm given a radius here, right? So this is circumference equals 2 times the radius times pi. Okay, the radius was 60, so 2 times 60 times 3.14. What is 2 times 60? Okay, now, is this right here going to give me the same answer as this?
No. Yeah.
Yes. It's 120 times 3.14. Either way you look at it. Yes. No. Okay, any questions on that? Are we good? All right.